Good evening, everyone. This is Abhay Mishra. Uh, I'll quickly start with giving my introduction. My name is Abhay Mishra, and I'm living in Gurgaon, India. Overall, in the industry, I have 13 years of experience into marketing and analytics domain, and right now working with Publicis Sapient as a manager data analytics, and have worked across different analytics tools like Google Analytics is one of them. But apart from this, I have also worked on Adobe Analytics and a few others. And apart from the reporting, I have also worked on the analytics implementation domain as well, which is slightly different than the reporting ones. So yeah, let's quickly start and let's look at the what all we are going to talk about in this webinar. So uh, this webinar will be on GA or Google Analytics, wherein we will talk about all the things that you would need to learn and apply this knowledge related to Google Analytics, so that you are able to set up Google Analytics onto any domain or app that you have access to. Okay, so before we go ahead and start the session, I would like to have the understanding about the type of the audience we have. For example, your expertise with respect to Google Analytics, or how many years of experience that you have in Google Analytics. So for that, I have just three simple questions planned for this session, and I just want you to open this URL on your phone or laptop or desktop and enter this code, which is 2326528. I'll just quickly ping that over onto the chat. Or you can also scan this QR code. So we have 80 people in this webinar, more than 80 people. So let's wait for a few seconds. So we have majority of the audience who have not worked on Google Analytics before. Okay, that's great, because we will cover uh, all the things, each and every detail about Google Analytics from the basics in this webinar. The next question for you is how many years of experience you have in GA. So majority of the people have never worked on GA. So I think uh, they can go with never worked on GA option. But for the remaining people, they can select the corresponding years of experience that they have working in Google Analytics. Yeah, the last one. So Google Analytics 4 is the latest version from released from Google Analytics. So earlier we were using Google Analytics version called Universal Analytics or Google Analytics 3, but recently Google have introduced this Google Analytics 4 with advanced capabilities, which we are going to talk about in the future slides. Thanks a lot, everyone, for your responses. Let's quickly look at the agenda, that what all we are going to talk about in this particular session. So we will quickly start with understanding what exactly is Google Analytics, how it can help, and then we will move on to Google Analytics 4. What is it, and why do we even need it instead of Google Analytics? We will also look at the GA Google Analytics 4 architecture, that how exactly it is designed. And then we will move to the reporting and analysis section, wherein I'll show you the exact interface of Google Analytics, and I'll explain, what all are the different options and how we can utilize all of those. And obviously at the end, we will have the question and answer sessions. Keep we kept the 5-10 minutes reserved for any question and answers, but meanwhile feel free to go ahead and post your questions into the chat box, and we will take it up at the end of this session. Okay, what exactly is Google Analytics? So just to answer to that question, so you might have seen different kind of websites, app, so that every day you visit some or the other website, you install different apps and you interact with those. So Google Analytics is the tool that can help you collect the data, collect the interactions that users are making with your website or app, store it onto a place where you can access and see the different touch points, different data points, or the different dimensions, and create a meaningful report from that data, so that business can understand that how users are, like for example, from where users are coming onto your website, whether it's India or APAC or EMEA or Americas. Okay. And also what devices they are using. Okay, okay. So what are the sections of the website or the app they are particularly interacting with? So Google Analytics is the tool that will help you understand all of these things at one single place. uh, there would be for example, if you look at the USP that analytics makes it easy to understand that how exactly your users are coming onto your website. It's not just the website. It's fine even if you have the app, you can track those as well. You'll be able to get answers to your questions. For example, where your users are coming, what they are doing onto this website, uh, what exactly, when exactly they are exiting from your platform, and all of those things. And ultimately you'll get access to a reporting platform wherein you can see all of these data getting captured, so that you can start generating insights. Last but not the least, Google Analytics will help you, integrate your data, or ingest your data to any other Google owned platform or any third party platforms. So for example, Google Analytics is just the one tool, but apart from that, we use many businesses use Google AdWords, okay, which is the platform that lets you advertise your business onto Google search or Google display networks. So Google Analytics will help you create the type of audiences that you would want, and you can target especially those type of audience using those advertisement tools. Okay, so Google Analytics will you can easily integrate Google Analytics with Google AdWords or any other third party tools for that matter. Okay, so let's quickly look at when it all started. So back in 2005, Google had acquired this company called Urchin. Okay. And that was a plain web analytics tool at that particular point in time. And after that, Google introduced a first version of Google Analytics called GA Classic. Okay. And it was there for some time. And after that, in 2012, when Google have finally introduced this Universal Analytics, and Universal Analytics is there, it's still there, but it's just that apart from Google Analytics, they have introduced Google Analytics for Firebase in 2016, and then GA Web Plus app in 2019. Okay, before finally launching Google Analytics 4 or GA 4. We will briefly talk about what was Universal Analytics and how it was working, and the reason behind introducing this Google Analytics 4. Okay, what was the reason that why we have to move to Google Analytics 4? There are few basic terminologies that we all should know, or at least we should be aware of. Okay, for example, page views. In the websites, we generally have different pages. Okay, for example, the home page or about us or contact us. So all of these are standalone pages, and page views is one of the metrics that will tell you that how many people have visited that particular page. Okay, similarly, sessions, that will tell you that for how long a particular user was active on your website. And there is a default setting that by after 30 minutes of inactivity, the session will automatically be closed. Okay, user uh, is obviously a unique user who have visited your website, okay, at least once or twice, depending on the devices that they have used. Next, segment. Segment is basically kind of that you can create yourself, and basis on the certain filters that you would like to apply. For example, if you would want to see that users coming specifically from any particular region, for example UK or India, then in that case you can create a segment for those users. Not only for country, you can utilize any other filter also. For example, the devices, whether it's a desktop or laptop, and the IPs. Okay, and any particular geography or any particular gender, you can you have flexibility to choose any of those filters to create a new segments. Bounce rate is one of the metric that will tell you that how engaging your website is, because it will exactly tell you that how many users that came onto your website and bounced back from that particular page itself. Okay, for example, you landed onto the home page of any particular website and then close the tab or the browser itself, then it will be 100% bounce rate for that particular page. Okay, time on page is again the average session duration or average time that user had spent on a particular page. Exit rate is slightly different from the bounce rate, because the bounce rate is belongs to you know uh, bounce rate could belongs to the different pages that and at the end it will gets calculated for the overall website, but the exit rate will tell you that how many users have exited from that particular page only. Okay, and obviously there are a lot of other metrics and the dimensions that we all should know or at least understand, but for this session we can take note of at least these things. Now, talking about the Google Analytics account structure and the building blocks. Okay, so whenever we create Google Analytics account, the first thing that gets created is the organization, and under the organization we can have multiple accounts. Okay, and under each of these accounts we can have multiple property, and under each of these properties we can have multiple views. Think of a scenario wherein you are part of any organization where you have uh, different platforms. Okay, and that for that you would like to track the data separately, then probably in that case you can create a different accounts. Okay, and one account belongs to each of these tracks. Similarly, in the accounts you can create different properties, for example, one property for your development environment or the staging environment, and other property could be for your productions. Okay, and lastly, about the views, you can have multiple views onto any property, and views are nothing but a filtered data uh, that is coming onto the property itself. Okay, there will be default views that gets created every time, and that will have the raw data without any filters applied, but you can create new additional views from your side with the specific filters applied. Dimensions and metrics. uh, so dimensions are the kind of a qualitative you know data about your website. For example, city. Okay, city could be one dimension that can tell you that what are the different cities from where the users are coming. And likewise, metrics could be the quantifiable numbers, uh, which will tell you that what was the number of the users that are coming from different cities. Whenever you build any reports, usually it's the combinations of the dimensions and matrix only. Okay, against each of these dimensions you can apply one or more matrix, and same goes with dimensions. You can break down one dimensions by any additional custom dimensions. When it comes to setting up the Google Analytics onto your website or app. Okay, so there are separate ways that you can follow depending on the stages you are at, or depending on the access that you have. Okay, or obviously on the technicality, you could select different options. Okay, for example, uh, if you have to integrate Google Analytics onto any website, then you can follow two ways. One, you can directly get the Google Analytics code and place it onto the all the pages of the website. The other option is to utilize Google Tag Manager, which is again the tag management solution. And this is not the topic that we are going to discuss in this webinar. It's just the options for you that I'm telling, but it's up to you that which option you would want to go ahead with. But for majority of the customers, I think it will be just a plain integration of Google Analytics, under which you can get the JavaScript code of Google Analytics and get it placed by the developer on all your website pages. The other type of integration we have available is for app. Okay, for example, if you own an app and would want to get Google Analytics integrated onto that as well, so in that case you can get the SDKs of Google Analytics or similarly Google Tag Manager, and get it integrated onto your applications, okay, or the mobile apps. Okay, and it it doesn't matter, you know, which option you choose, either Google Tag Manager or just the plain integrations. The tracking would still be fine. It's just that you know, in the future you would have to always rely on, if you choose the plain integration, that you would always have to rely on to the developer to make any changes onto the code. But via GTM you would have that flexibility to change those codes or change those scripts yourself. There is one common problem, right? Because I have explained the two different options, that what are the options that you have to use when it comes to integrating GA onto mobile website, and what are the steps that you have to follow when it comes to integrating Google Analytics on your mobile apps. Okay, so what is the reason that why we have to keep it separate all the time? Okay, why we cannot merge it, at least till now? Okay, so because there are certain fundamental differences, you know, with the way that we are tracking both website and app. Earlier we talked about the page views, okay, and the page views are applicable only in case of the websites, whereas in case of applications there are no pages. Actually there are just the screens, and we usually navigate across different screens. Okay, uh, websites are always sessions and user oriented. For example, whenever you enter a website, the session will start, okay, and all your data will be tied to that particular users. Okay, but in case of apps, it will always be events. Instead of the session, there will not be any sessions. And likewise, there are in the website, these are you can have very standard type of tracking to complex, but in case of application it will always be very simple type of tracking. In every case it will be just the events that you will be tracking all across. Okay, and obviously this type of tracking would make sense only for the website, but in case of apps you can have either Android or iOS app or both. Okay, so how exactly we have addressed this, which is we are combining the tracking, the Google Analytics for mobile app as well as the website into one single property called Google Analytics 4 property. Okay, so if you go ahead and create the new Google Analytics account right now, then most probably you will be creating Google Analytics 4 only. Okay, because you will not be able to create universal analytics property anymore, and it will be Google Analytics 4. And the major changes that you will see onto Google Analytics 4 is that you would be able to combine your mobile, your website data as well as the app data into one single property. Okay, we will talk about that, how exactly we have achieved this, but just it is important for you to know that how exactly it is happening. Okay, so in the Google Analytics 4, we can see that there are different kind of connectors that we utilize to collect the data separately from the website as well as the app, and then we combine it into one single property. Okay, so apart from this feature that we are able to combine the mobile the website data as well as the app data, uh, what are the other benefits that we will get when it comes to combining the data, you know, or using the Google Analytics 4 property? So in the universal analytics, we only had access to the sample data. Okay, so sample data means that that is not the complete data that we are looking into universal analytics. For example, after a certain number of users, we when we cross that threshold, uh, Google Analytics will start sampling those data. For example, basis on the behavior of the first 100 or 1000 users, it will extrapolate those data, and accordingly you will be seeing those into the report. But with Google Analytics 4, you will have access to the unsampled data, so it will always be 100% unique and without any extrapolation. Now, you will also be able to create the custom reports using Google Analytics 4, because earlier in the Universal Analytics, all you have access to is the dashboards or the reports that you could create and share. But with Google Analytics 4, you can create custom reports with all the events and the parameters that you have access to, and you can always share it with all the people that you want to share. Next, the machine learning. So there are a lot of modelings that is getting applied in the Google Analytics 4 properties. So you would be seeing certain reports that gets populated by default, okay, and that is coming from the GA4 machine learning modeling capabilities. With GA4, we also have access to additional type of attributions. And for those who don't know what exactly is attributions, so attribution is basically a way to give credit to the conversions that is happening onto the website. For example, if users are coming to your website and making the purchase, then it might make sense for you to look at, what is the source of those users who came onto your website. And there could be multiple sources that have driven that user, okay, that have contributed towards that conversion. For example, user could have searched uh, on Google search for your business, and then they might have not have made the purchase, but after that they might have came directly to your site, okay, or came via email campaign. So it is important to look at the different sources from where you are getting your users who are actually making the purchases. So attribution will help you understand that, what are the different sources that are contributing towards your conversions, and you can utilize different type of conversions, for example time decay or linear conversions, and accordingly see that, what is the attribution model that fits best in your case. So as we discussed earlier, in the Universal Analytics, we have users who are coming onto your website, and they are having different sessions, okay, and in every session they are having they are sending the page views hits, or they are sending the event hits, okay. So all of these data gets tied up with that session and ultimately to that users, okay. But with GA4, all we have is events, okay. Different type of users, whatever the users that you are getting onto your platform, all we will be getting is the events. For example, if they open an app or if they open a website, then it will be a page view event, okay, or app open event, and ultimately it gets reported to that particular users, okay, uh, or user property, and then that's how exactly we will be able to identify users onto the platform, okay. So there is a different mechanism that, how exactly Google Analytics 4 will be able to identify each and every user that is coming onto your platform. Okay, so there are three factors that Google Analytics 4 is considering towards identifying each and every unique users onto the platform. For example, Google Signals is the one attribute. Then we have user ID, which gets assigned to every user, every logged in user or authenticated users, and it will never change for any users who have logged in onto the platform. And the device IDs, obviously. So Google Analytics 4, in Google Analytics 4, we combine all of these data together to identify each and every user that is coming onto your platform. And accordingly, we will Google Analytics 4 populates the report of different events and different parameters. All right, enough of this theory. Now it's time to let's move on to the actual demo part, okay, wherein we can see exactly how this Google Analytics 4 property looks like. So someone asked Shankar, so he's asking that Google Analytics only used for website and app traffic analysis, or some else are there? I don't know what you meant by some else are there. So majorly it's the website and the apps. Okay, the other type of platform that I could think of is the hybrid apps. But again, those will also be categorized into the apps itself. So absolutely, Google Analytics will be able to capture a website or the app or the hybrid app for that matter. Okay. So Madhvi is asking that how to get more hands-on experience on GA4. Okay. So I had actually searched for it. So you can just Google Google Analytics demo account, and you can go to that first link. It will tell you the options to create the demo account. The only thing that you would need is the Google account or the Gmail account. Okay, and Google Analytics will give you this option. Give you this demo account where you will see that there are 3-4 properties that are already created, and you can utilize any one of these property to familiar yourself with Google Analytics 4. Okay. Uh, Nishant, till now, Google Analytics or the Universal Analytics free version was absolutely free. Although there is a premium version that is called Google Analytics 360, so that's the paid version. Okay, the cost depends on the volume, the data. The amount of data that you have. For example, the users that are coming onto your platform, and the amount that the number of interactions that they are doing onto your website. Okay, and same goes with GA4 also. Till now it is free, it is absolutely free. You don't have to pay anything for using GA4. So Asle, you're asking that are you covering Google Tag Manager in this segment? So no, the answer is no. We might be able to plan another session on Google Tag Manager altogether, but definitely not in this session. This session is purely focused towards Google Analytics only. So someone is asking that whether Google Analytics or the data analytics are same. So to answer this question, so Google Analytics is the one tool that we are talking about, and it is the web analytics tool. Whereas the data analytics is the kind of industry, okay, wherein we get data from all different sources, not just Google Analytics. It could be offline sales, it could be CRM data, or any other type of data, and we do the analysis with those data that are getting collected. GA used for only web access, or even give graphs on profit and loss of particular product. So it depends, the kind of data that you would be providing to Google Analytics. So Google Analytics would be able to capture all the data that you have available onto your website or the app. It could be the product sales data, checkout data, or the revenue data for that matter. And you can manually export or import offline sales data as well, for example the returns. Okay, and that's how you'll be able to calculate the exact revenue for your business. So Firebase was the earlier version that we are using to specifically track the uh, data for the apps. Okay, will there be any real life scenarios covered in this session from scratch? So that I'm going to do right now. Okay, that's great to hear that. Today I brought in Google Analytics data into Power BI and was exploring it. Okay, so that's great to hear. So that's irrelevant. Which type of database is in more demand? MongoDB or SQL? That is not relevant for the session. So what is difference between GA360 and GA4? So as I said, GA360 was the premium version of Google Analytics, the earlier version of Google Analytics, wherein GA4 is the recently introduced version of Google Analytics, wherein you can combine or merge the data of web as well as the app. How GA4 Analytics tool learning help in get a job? So obviously, if you are into this industry of data analytics, you at some point you are going to need it, GA4, because it's one of the popular tool that majority of the businesses uses. Okay. How exit page word to get inside of users? I am not able to understand this question. So how exit pages word to get inside of users? Dinesh, probably you can reframe your question so that I can understand. Excited to see the practical application of GA4. All right, let's do that. Okay. So right now in the screen, you can see that I have a free version of this GA4 account, the demo account that is already created, and we have seen we are already seeing the data that is already coming in onto this platform. Okay, so right now these are the options that you see. So what you are looking right now onto the screen is the demo account of Google Analytics 4 property. That is the demo account offered by Google, and you can, as I said, you can go ahead and you can have access to this demo account for you as well. And in this property, we are already seeing the some data that is already flowing in. So GA4 flooded is the one of the game that Google have created for this particular demo account. Okay, and that's absolutely a game. And in the game, you can always think of different stages, okay, different levels that users have to clear, and it might have in purchases activated, which might require you to make the payment before you unlock the next level. Okay, so stuff like that. That is the flooded game is all about. And right now onto this property, we are already seeing the data. Now, if you talk about the account structure, so as I said, in the Google Analytics account, I can create multiple accounts. This particular account belongs to GA4, which Google have enabled it for me. And in this one demo account, I can see different properties. Okay, flooded, Google Merchandiser Store, Google Merchandiser Store, the other version of the Universal Analytics. And the thing that you will notice is that there are no views. Okay, but in this old version of Universal Analytics account, you will always have access to different views. Okay, and the views are nothing but the data with the filters applied. Okay, now we will stick to this flooded application only, and we will see that what all type of data that we are collecting for these applications. Now quickly look at the admin section first, that what all we have into this particular admin section. Okay, so as always, we have account settings enabled here, and then we have GA4 properties. There are some of these options are same. For example, the setup assistant. Okay, if in case you have the Universal Analytics account and you would want to migrate to GA4 account, then I think this setup assistant will help you achieve that. Okay, there are some simple on-screen steps that you have to follow. I'm not going to cover all of those steps, uh, but this will be the place for you to migrate to Google Analytics 4. Now, when we talk about the property settings, it will always have just the basic data, basic configurations, the property name, the industry, and the reporting time zone. But data stream is one of the area which has been introduced along with Google Analytics 4, wherein you can see this thing called data streams. Okay, so data streams is nothing but a connector that will help you connect different kind of platform that you have available for your business. Okay, for example, uh, you might have a website for your business, and at the same time you might have Android as well as the iOS app for your business. So what you need to do, you need to create a separate data streams for each of these platforms. One data streams could be for the web or the website, one could be for Android, and one could be for iOS. Okay, uh, in case you would want to combine the data for the apps, for example Android and iOS, into one data stream, so that would not be possible. Okay, you have to integrate those two platforms separately. Okay, but for the website it will always be the same, whether it's a React.js or Angular, whatever type of platform you have built your website built on, you can always utilize the web. Now quickly looking at this particular property. So in the web data stream, you have some of these configurations. So for example, stream ID that is populated or created by default for you. Okay, and the measurement ID. Okay, you might have noticed in Universal Analytics or not, but but anyways, I'm telling you that in case of Universal Analytics, it will always start from UA hyphen some numbers and the strings, right? But in case of GA4, it will always start with G and have these random strings. Okay, so these are some high level configuration that gets created by default or as soon as you create your new GA4 properties. And there are certain configurations that you can always control. Okay, for example, enhanced measurement. Enhanced measurements are nothing but uh, some pre-populated events that GA4 will track by default for you. Okay, for example, page views. It will always be it will be tracked by default if you have the enhanced measurements enabled. Okay, and similarly with the scrolls or outbound links or the exit links and few more. Okay, for example, file downloads. But in case you would not want to go with enhanced measurement option, then you can always turn it off. That's absolutely fine. Okay, but you need to make sure that you have these tracking set up differently, set up separately for your website or the app. Okay, in case you would want to remove any of these events, for example, if you think that the page views are fine, but you don't want to track scrolls or outbound links or the file downloads, then you can always turn it off by going to your settings. Okay, modify events. Modify events are some of the in the Google Analytics 4, it's all about events, right? Page views is the event, login is the event, sign up is the event. So we just have the events, and modify events are nothing but you can just modify any existing events, and similarly you can create a new events. Because we have a limited access with this demo account, you will not be able to see that options to create any new events. Okay, but you might need to create new events depending on the additional tracking that you would want to enable for your platform. For example, in case you want to track the login interactions, okay, and that is not getting tracked by default, then what you need to do, you can create a new event for your login, go to your website and ask the developer to enable that code against that login interactions. Okay, so that you can start capturing it. But the scenario would be different in case you have Google Tag Manager. You can do that yourself. Okay, considering we have the remaining things in place. Okay, so that is pretty much about the data streams. Similarly, we have data settings wherein we can see that, data retention configuration, for how long you would want to retain your data. We have the data filters. We have the reporting identity enables. For example, we can tell Google that, whether it has to be blended or observed. As I said, these are the 3-4 properties that GA4 is utilizing to identify each and every user that is coming from different devices. Uh, Only difference with blended and observed is that in the blended, the machine learning capabilities of GA4 gets applied, but in observed, it is not. There are different type of products, external products that you can link to. Again, as I said, Google Ads could be the one platform that you can link and share your data with Google Ads. You can export all your data of GA4 to BigQuery, which is again a free, not free, but exporting your GA4 data to BigQuery would always be free. I mean, at least till now, it is free, and you can utilize the SQL, your SQL skills to generate, required reports. Similarly, you have other applications to links to. Okay, that is enough of the admin section. Now let's go back to the home section again, and here we are seeing the high level details about the platform. Like, for example, how many users we are getting onto the platform, and out of those, how many new users were there. What is the average time that they are spending? What is the average revenue or the total revenue that we are generating? Here you will get the real-time reports as well. That is of last 30 minutes. You would be able to see that, how many users you have got in the last 30 minutes. So it is quite similar to the real-time reports that you have, that you'll find into Universal Analytics as well. Okay, and also you would be able to see that, what are the different countries from where users are coming onto the platform. These are the some of the high level, these are the cards that will tell you that what are the different options that you had just visited. Okay, insights and recommendation, as I told you, these are coming from their machine learning capabilities, which we had already discussed. So these are getting populated using the GA4 machine learning modeling, and it will always tell you something meaningful about the data that you are getting. Okay, for example, day 7 user engagement of new users increased by 158%. Okay, so that could be probably one of the data points that you might want to act upon. Reports is quite similar to the pre-populated reports that you see, that you have seen onto Google Analytics. Here you would see, the pre-populated reports. For example, you can go to engagement and click on events, and you would be able to see all the events that are happening onto your platform. These are the list of the events that you see, that we have already getting tracked for this applications. Okay, for example, screen view or the user engagement. Okay, levels completed and all of those things, and accordingly you are seeing the different type of metrics. For example, the event counts, how many times this particular events has been performed. Okay, how many total users who have resulted in these many events counts. Okay, and what is the average event count that is being performed by every user. Okay, and what is the corresponding revenue that is getting generated. So these are the default metrics that we are looking at. In case we would want to add any additional event or look at any additional event, then you can always click on this plus icon, and you would be able to see those custom events or the demographic events. Okay, general, all of these things. So this is one of the events report, and similarly we have the acquisition reports. Okay, and that will tell you that from where exactly, what was the source from where the users is coming from. The direct, display, paid search, organic search, and all of those things that is coming from your default channel grouping report. Just go ahead and read about channel grouping in case you have not heard it before. So that is the report, how the report looks like. Okay, demographics, there is a separate report on demographics that you would see onto Google Analytics 4. Okay, similarly you have technical tech reports that will tell you probably the device wise data, that what are the devices that are being used by different users. I think we can move on to this section, that is the important one, and this is a really an important feature that has been introduced with GA4, that is the custom reports. Okay, so that is the one section wherein you can create the custom reports. Okay, for example, if the reports that are not getting populated by default under reports, then you can always go to explore section and create a free form table or any other custom type of report for you. Okay, and here you will see, if you have worked on any BI tools before, then it will look similar. Okay, for example, you can always use this event name data here. Okay, to populate any custom reports. Similarly, you can create utilize the metrics. Okay, there are certain metrics that are getting populated by default, but you can always select the new one. You can create a new type of utilize different type of graphs or the charts for your reports. Okay, these are the different options that are enabled. These are the breakdowns. You can choose to share it with any reports, any report with any user. Okay, and again, the permissions are limited, so I might not be able to show you that option, how exactly you can share it. Okay, and again, it can have multiple tabs in one single report. Okay, and every tab might belongs to you can dedicate it to different sections. For example, you can just name it as overview. Okay, and probably the next one you can name it as acquisitions. Okay, and similarly you can name it as engagements. Okay, so you can create any number of tabs that you would want here. Okay, and you can always choose what type of report that it would be. It could be either freeform, cohort, funnels, segment overlap, or path explorations. Okay, uh, advertising is the place wherein you can go ahead and utilize the different kind of attribution modelings that we just talked about. Okay, and we can also see the conversion paths that will tell you that what are the paths that users are taking to finally make the purchases. Okay, so these are the reports, and that will tell you that what are the sources for those kind of users who are converting most onto your website. Okay, you can always choose these modelings. For example, data driven is the additional last click, is where you attribute all the credit to the last click source where that click have happened before making the purchase. First click, linear, position based, time decay. So there are different kind of attribution modelings available that are also there earlier, but here in you have that AI modeling, machine learning modelings applied with GA4. Okay, and that will give you more refined reports. Configure is the one section wherein you can go ahead and create the new events as we talked earlier. So these are already the events that are pre-populated, and you can mark any of these events as conversion events. Okay, so that you can see that how many times those conversions are happening onto the platform. Okay, these settings are disabled, but you can always disable and enable those any particular event that you think that can be counted as conversions. Okay, and you can create any new event. For example, I can create one for flooded web, but again, I'm not able to show you that options. Okay, so that is pretty much the date range filters anyways is at the same place. I think that's pretty much it about Google Analytics and Google Analytics 4. Now let's quickly head over to the questions part. If people would want to ask question, they can raise their hands and probably we can unmute them. So the first question that we have in Q&A section is by Alvin Young, who's asking that what is the difference between account and property? Okay, so I think I have already explained it, but let me explain it again. So account is the in the hierarchy, it is the top level account top level structure, wherein with any email ID that you have, you will be first creating a new account. Okay, in using that email ID, you can always create multiple accounts. Okay, account is nothing but just the just to make sure that a proper hierarchy is maintained. Google Analytics lets you create the account first. Okay, and that account, under that account you can create multiple properties. Okay, and as I said, that properties could belongs to different environments of your website. For example, one property could be for staging or dev, one properties could be for production environments. Okay, so that's how you segregate the data. Okay, and you can accordingly give the access to every individual, whosoever needs it. So, and under using your one particular email account, Gmail account, you can create multiple accounts, and in every account you will always have that flexibility to create multiple properties. Okay, and again, as always, in every single property you can have multiple views. The next question is how exit page were to get inside of users. So again, this is the same question. I'm not able to get this question, but just if I have to explain, that what is the exit rate. So exit rates are nothing but the percentage of the users that are exiting from any particular page. For example, you have 5 pages on your website and you are exiting from the fourth one, then probably the fourth page, the exit rate would be calculated. Okay, are you covering Google Tag? No. What is Firebase? So Firebase is the platform where we were doing all the tracking for apps earlier, but right now we don't need it anymore because we already have GA4. Okay, so what is the other matrix? Can you please name? So page views, sessions, average session duration, exit rate could also be your additional matrix. Okay, purchases. Okay, orders, unique orders. So there are a number of metrics that I could explain, but I'm afraid that we don't have that much time. How GA4 analytics tool learning help in get a job? I think these are the repeated questions that I have already answered. I think you can probably confirm this. I'm not sure whether the PPT will be shared with all the attendees or not. What is the difference between GA360 and GA4? That has also been answered. Okay. Just imagine my website suddenly crashed or something went wrong. How does Google Analytics behave in this situation? Like, does my ads still work on it? Or me forecasting settings, ML settings is still active, or do I need to redo everything as event in GA4? Okay, so nothing will work if your website is not working. Okay, that's for sure. And Google Analytics will be able to capture anything if unless or until that GA4 script tag is placed onto the website and is not getting removed. And for example, if the website is crashed, so nothing will get stacked, but the moment you fix everything and you make it live, considering the GA4 code is not replaced, then from that moment onwards, uh, the tracking will work absolutely fine. Okay. Exit rate is not like a bounce rate. Okay. uh, the question is, exit rate like bounce rate? No, it is not. How exit rate can give insight of users? So uh, that's a great question actually. So exit rate, okay, for example, you see people are moving across different pages, okay, and exit rates are fine across all the other pages except one page, okay, which could be your product detail page for that matter. Okay, so the kind of insights that you get from that page is that probably something is not right with the product detail page. Okay, maybe you are not showing the product images, or maybe you are not showing the prices, okay, because of which users gets confused and they are just trying to get away from that particular page or your website or your business altogether. Okay, so that is just the one type of insights that you can get from exit rate. Similarly, there could be others. Can you please tell difference among first, second and third party cookies? Yeah, so first party cookies are the cookies that belongs to you or your website only. For example, you own a domain. Okay, so the cookies that gets ingested, any cookies that gets ingested with respect to your platform, okay, with respect to your website, for example, we might need certain cookies to make sure that the login session is maintained. Okay, so that there are separate cookies that would be required, and those will be counted as a first party cookies. Second and third party cookies are the cookies that you don't control yourself, but you still have those placed onto your website and getting those ingested into the user's browser. Okay, for example, Google Analytics could be the third party cookies that you would have to that you have to insert onto the user's browser so that you can track the important interactions with respect to your website and get those sent onto Google Analytics. Okay, because you are not collecting it or you are not storing it anywhere. Okay, so the last question says, is Google Analytics same as data analytics? So again, I have already answered this, and again, it is not same as Google Analytics. Okay, so I think we have answered most of the question. Yes, Madhvi, so you cannot manipulate the data with the demo account of GA4. Probably you can set up a new demo website for you and get new GA4 property created, and then probably you can start exploring it from there. So yeah, I think we are all sorted and we can wrap up the session. All right, thanks everyone. Thanks for your time and thanks for joining.